Speak like a leader, not like a weak man. Words create the man. A man is known by his words. Before people see your success, before they see your work, they hear how you speak. Your words are like a mirror. They show your thinking. They show your courage. They show your mindset. A weak man speaks without thinking. A leader speaks with purpose. Many men believe strength comes from muscles, but true strength begins in the mind, and the mind reveals itself through words. A careless sentence can destroy trust. A wise sentence can build respect. People remember what you say. Your words travel further than your footsteps. If you want to become a strong man, you must first change how you speak. Words are not just sounds. Words are seeds. When you plant weak words, you grow weak thoughts. When you plant strong words, you grow strong actions. This is why leaders protect their language. They know that language shapes destiny. Imagine two men facing the same problem. The first man says, "This is impossible." The second man says, "This is difficult, but I will try." The first man closes the door. The second man opens a path. Their situation is the same, but their words create different futures. A leader understands this power. He does not speak defeat. He does not speak fear. He does not speak surrender. Instead, he speaks courage. He speaks responsibility. He speaks possibility. Think about the great men of history. Think about inventors. Think about explorers. Think about leaders who changed the world. Their journey was not easy. They faced failure. They faced doubt. They faced criticism. But their words never surrendered. When others said, "It cannot be done," they said, "Let us try." When others said, "Give up," they said, "One more attempt." Words create energy. Negative words drain the spirit. Positive words build momentum. This is why the language you use every day matters. If you wake up and say, "Today will be terrible," your mind begins to search for problems. But if you wake up and say, "Today is a new chance," your mind begins to search for opportunity. The world outside may not change, but your attitude changes everything. Leaders know that every sentence is a decision. You decide whether to speak fear or strength. You decide whether to complain or create. Many men fall into a dangerous habit. They speak weak words again and again. "I cannot. I am unlucky. It is not fair." Slowly, these words build a prison in the mind. The man begins to believe his own limitations. A leader refuses this prison. He chooses his words carefully. Instead of saying, "I cannot," he says, "I will learn." Instead of saying, "This is unfair," he says, "What can I do next?" Instead of saying, "I failed," he says, "I learned something." This simple change creates powerful results. The brain listens to your words. When you speak hope, the brain searches for solutions. When you speak defeat, the brain stops trying. Your words program your actions. A leader programs his mind for strength. He does not pretend life is easy. He knows life is difficult. He knows challenges are real, but he also knows something important. Difficulty is not the enemy. Weak thinking is the enemy. Strong words build strong thinking, and strong thinking builds strong action. Look around you. Every great achievement began with a sentence. Someone said, "Let us build." Someone said, "Let us discover." Someone said, "Let us try again." Without those words, progress would stop. A leader understands that language creates movement. When he speaks, people feel confidence. They feel direction. They feel possibility. Weak language spreads doubt. Strong language spreads courage. Imagine a captain on a ship during a storm. The waves are high, the wind is strong, the crew is afraid. If the captain says, "We are doomed," panic spreads quickly. But if the captain says, "Stay calm, we will guide the ship," hope returns to the crew. The storm is the same, but the words change everything. This is leadership. Leadership is not shouting orders. Leadership is guiding minds. And the first mind you must guide is your own. Every morning you speak to yourself. Sometimes you notice it. Sometimes you do not. But your inner voice is powerful. If that voice says, "You are weak," your confidence disappears. If that voice says, "You can grow," your courage grows slowly. A leader trains his inner voice. He becomes careful with his thoughts. He replaces negative sentences with constructive ones. This does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing words that build action. For example, a weak man says, "I always fail." A leader says, "This time did not work." A weak man says, "I am not good enough." A leader says, "I need more practice." These sentences look similar, but their power is very different. One destroys hope. The other creates progress. The difference between a weak man and a leader often begins with language, not with money, not with education, not with luck, but with words. Words are the tools of the mind. A carpenter uses tools to build houses. A leader uses words to build reality. If the tools are weak, the structure becomes weak. If the language is weak, the life becomes weak. But when the language becomes strong, the man begins to change. His posture changes. His decisions change. His future changes. Respect follows strong language. People trust the man who speaks with clarity. They follow the man who speaks with courage. They listen to the man who speaks with responsibility. This is why learning to speak like a leader is not just about communication, it is about identity. You become the man your words describe. If you describe yourself as powerless, you live like a powerless man. If you describe yourself as capable, you begin to act like a capable man. Your words become your map, and your actions follow that map. A leader never forgets this truth. He guards his language carefully. He removes words that weaken the spirit. He chooses words that build strength. Slowly, day after day, sentence after sentence, a new man begins to appear. Not because life became easier, but because his language became stronger. And when language changes, the future begins to change as well. Part 2. Words that make a man look weak. A leader understands something very important. Some words quietly destroy strength. They look small, they sound normal, but they slowly weaken a man's spirit. Many people use these words every day. They do not notice the damage, but over time, these sentences shape their life. A weak sentence becomes a weak habit. A weak habit becomes a weak future. That is why a leader listens carefully to his own voice. He removes the language that steals his power. Let us look at some of the most dangerous phrases. These words may seem simple, but they reveal the difference between a weak man and a leader. The first dangerous sentence is this: "I can't do it." This sentence closes the door before the journey begins. When a man says these words, his mind stops searching. His energy disappears. His courage fades. The problem may still have a solution, but the mind no longer looks for it. A weak man sees a mountain and says, "I can't climb that." A leader sees the same mountain and says, "How can I climb it?" The question changes everything. A statement of defeat stops movement. A question creates curiosity. Curiosity creates effort. Effort creates progress. Leaders understand that ability grows through action. No one is born knowing everything. Every skill begins with difficulty. Every success begins with confusion. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls many times. The child struggles to balance. But the child never says, "I can't walk." The child simply tries again. This natural courage disappears in many adults. Fear replaces curiosity. Excuses replace effort. A leader returns to the mindset of the child. He accepts that learning takes time. He accepts that mistakes are part of progress. Instead of saying, "I can't do it," he says, "I will learn how." These 4 words change the direction of the mind. The brain begins to search for answers. Ideas begin to appear. Energy begins to return. This is the power of language. Another dangerous sentence is this: "That's not my fault." Blame feels comfortable. When something goes wrong, it is easy to point at someone else. The economy, the boss, the government, the weather, bad luck. Blame protects the ego, but it destroys responsibility. And without responsibility, there is no leadership. A weak man wants to protect his pride. A leader wants to improve the situation. Imagine 2 workers on the same team. A project fails. The first worker says, "It's not my fault." He explains why others are responsible. He defends himself. He protects his image. But nothing improves. The second worker says, "The project failed. I will help fix it." People notice the difference immediately. One man defends himself. The other man takes action. Respect grows toward the man who accepts responsibility. Responsibility is not about carrying guilt. It is about owning the future. When you take responsibility, you gain control over the next step. Blame traps you in the past. Responsibility moves you toward progress. Leaders always choose progress. Another dangerous sentence is this: "That's impossible." This word has destroyed many dreams. History shows that many impossible things became reality. Flying across the sky once sounded impossible. Communicating instantly across the world sounded impossible. Walking on the moon sounded impossible. But someone refused to accept that word. Someone believed there was another way. A weak man sees a closed door. He turns around and walks away. A leader sees the same door. He searches for a key. Maybe the key is knowledge. Maybe the key is effort. Maybe the key is patience. But the leader keeps searching. The word impossible ends the search. Leaders replace it with different language. This is difficult. This will take time. We need another idea. These sentences keep the mind alive. The next dangerous sentence is very common. "I already know that." This sentence sounds confident, but often it hides pride. The moment a man believes he knows everything, he stops learning. And when learning stops, growth stops. A leader remains curious. Even when he hears familiar ideas, he listens carefully. Sometimes a small detail changes understanding. Sometimes a new example brings fresh insight. Great athletes practice simple movements every day. Great musicians repeat basic notes again and again. Mastery is built through repetition. A leader understands this truth. He never closes the door of learning. Instead of saying, "I already know that," he says, "That is interesting," or "Tell me more." Curiosity is a powerful tool. It keeps the mind flexible. It keeps the mind young. Another dangerous phrase is this: "It's not fair." Life often feels unfair. Some people start with advantages. Others begin with difficulties. Some people receive opportunities early. Others must fight for every step. Complaining about fairness feels natural, but complaining does not change reality. A weak man spends his energy comparing his life to others. He focuses on what he does not have. Bitterness slowly grows in his heart. A leader accepts a different truth. Life may not be fair, but effort still matters. Action still matters. Learning still matters. A leader focuses on what he can control: his discipline, his attitude, his work. Instead of saying, "It's not fair," he says, "What can I do with what I have?" This question creates movement, and movement creates opportunity. Another sentence that weakens a man is this: "I don't care." Many people use these words to hide disappointment. A student fails an exam. He says, "I don't care." But inside he feels pain. A man loses an opportunity. He says, "I didn't want it anyway." But deep inside he feels regret. Pretending not to care protects the ego for a moment, but it slowly removes purpose from life. Caring is not weakness. Caring shows passion. Caring shows commitment. A leader allows himself to care. He accepts that caring means risking disappointment, but he also knows that caring creates meaning. Instead of saying, "I don't care," he says, "I will improve," or "This matters to me." Honest language builds character. The next phrase is powerful and dangerous: "I hate you." Anger is a strong emotion. In moments of frustration, many people speak words they later regret. Hate burns quickly, but its damage can last for years. Words spoken in anger often break relationships. A leader controls his emotions. He does not deny his feelings, but he expresses them with discipline. Instead of shouting hate, he says, "I am disappointed," or "I need space." These sentences express truth without destroying connection. Control over language shows control over emotion, and emotional control is a mark of leadership. Another phrase slowly destroys progress: "I'll do it tomorrow." Tomorrow sounds comfortable. Tomorrow feels safe. Tomorrow allows the mind to relax. But tomorrow often becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Dreams slowly fade while waiting for the perfect time. A leader respects the present moment. He knows that action creates momentum. Even a small step today is stronger than a perfect plan tomorrow. Instead of saying, "I'll do it tomorrow," he says, "I will start now." A single step creates movement. Movement builds confidence. Confidence creates progress. Finally, there is the most dangerous sentence of all: "I give up." These words end the journey. Every goal becomes impossible once these words appear. Challenges are part of every path. Even the strongest people face moments of doubt. A leader may feel tired, he may feel frustrated, but he does not surrender his language. Instead of saying, "I give up," he says, "I need rest," or "I will try another way." These words keep hope alive, and hope fuels persistence. Persistence often separates success from failure. Many people quit just before progress appears. A leader understands this pattern. He protects his mind from the language of surrender because he knows something powerful. The man who continues moving cannot truly be defeated. Slow steps still move forward. Small progress still creates change. This is why leaders guard their words carefully. They remove language that weakens the spirit. They replace it with language that builds courage. And over time, something remarkable happens. The man begins to change. His confidence grows. His discipline strengthens. His future begins to expand. All because he chose to speak like a leader. Part 3. The language of a leader. A leader understands a powerful truth. The words you repeat every day slowly build the man you become. Your language shapes your thoughts. Your thoughts guide your actions. Your actions create your future. Everything begins with the sentences you allow inside your mind. If those sentences are weak, your spirit becomes weak. If those sentences are strong, your spirit becomes strong. This is why learning to speak like a leader is not only about talking to others, it is about speaking to yourself. Every day you have a quiet conversation in your mind. You may not notice it, but it is always there. When something goes wrong, a voice appears. When something feels difficult, another voice speaks. These voices shape your reaction to the world. A weak inner voice says, "This is too hard." A leader's voice says, "This will make me stronger." A weak voice says, "I am not good enough." A leader's voice says, "I am still learning." A weak voice says, "This problem is too big." A leader's voice says, "Every problem has a solution." The situation outside may stay the same, but the inner language changes your response. And your response determines your direction. Many people believe confidence comes first. They believe a man must feel strong before he speaks strong words, but the truth is often the opposite. Confidence grows from action, and action grows from language. When you begin to speak with strength, your mind slowly follows. At first, it may feel strange, it may feel unnatural, but repetition creates belief. The more you speak with courage, the more courage you begin to feel. Think about athletes before an important competition. They repeat powerful phrases to themselves. "I am ready. I am strong. I will give my best." These sentences focus the mind. They calm fear. They build energy. The same principle applies to life. A leader trains his language like an athlete trains his body. Every day he practices strong thinking. He removes words that weaken his focus. Instead, he chooses sentences that create momentum. For example, when a problem appears, a weak man says, "Why is this happening to me?" A leader asks, "What can this teach me?" The first question creates frustration. The second question creates learning. When a mistake happens, a weak man says, "I ruined everything." A leader says, "This is part of the process." Mistakes become lessons instead of evidence of failure.
When progress feels slow, a weak man says, "I am wasting my time." A leader says, "Growth takes patience." This sentence protects motivation. Language can destroy patience, but language can also protect it. This is why leaders speak with intention. They do not allow emotions to control their words. They pause, they breathe, they choose their response carefully. In moments of anger, this discipline becomes very important. Anger pushes people to say things they regret. One angry sentence can damage trust built over many years. A leader does not pretend he never feels anger. He simply refuses to let anger control his language. Instead of attacking people, he describes the problem. Instead of shouting blame, he searches for solutions. This calm communication creates respect. People feel safe around a man who controls his words. They trust a man who speaks with clarity. Trust is the foundation of leadership. Without trust, no one follows. But when people trust your words, they believe your vision. Your language becomes a tool of influence. You do not need to shout to be powerful. Quiet confidence often speaks louder than loud anger. A leader's voice carries calm authority. He does not need to prove his strength with noise. His words show his strength naturally. People listen because they feel sincerity. They feel responsibility. They feel courage. Leadership is not only about guiding others, it is also about guiding yourself through difficult moments. There will be days when progress feels slow. There will be days when doubt appears. Even the strongest minds experience uncertainty. During those moments, language becomes a shield. A leader reminds himself, "This is temporary. I have overcome challenges before. I will continue moving forward." These sentences keep the mind stable during storms. Imagine a long journey through mountains. Some days the path is clear. Some days the path is steep. Sometimes fog hides the direction. A weak traveler stops when the path becomes difficult. A leader keeps walking. He may walk slowly, but he keeps moving. Each step proves that persistence is stronger than fear. Language supports that persistence. Every encouraging sentence becomes energy. Energy becomes action. Action becomes progress.
Over time, small progress creates big change. The man who once doubted himself becomes confident. The man who once feared difficulty becomes resilient. The man who once avoided responsibility becomes dependable. This transformation does not happen overnight. It happens sentence by sentence, day after day. Every strong word becomes a brick in the foundation of character. Slowly, a new identity forms. Not the identity of a weak man, but the identity of a leader. People begin to notice the difference. They see calmness in difficult situations. They see determination in challenging moments. They see responsibility when problems appear. These qualities inspire respect. Respect is not demanded. Respect is earned through consistent behavior. And consistent behavior grows from consistent thinking. Language keeps that thinking strong. This is why the words you speak every day matter so much. They are not empty sounds. They are instructions to your mind. They are signals to your character. They are blueprints for your future. If you speak weakness, weakness grows. If you speak courage, courage grows. If you speak determination, determination becomes your habit. A leader understands this simple truth. He protects his language. He removes sentences that create fear. He removes phrases that encourage excuses. He removes words that suggest surrender. Instead, he fills his mind with language that builds strength. I will try again. I will find a way. I will keep learning. I will keep improving. These sentences may sound simple, but they create a powerful mindset. They build endurance. They build patience. They build courage. And courage is the heart of leadership. A leader does not wait for perfect conditions. He begins with the tools he has. He begins with the time he has. He begins with the knowledge he has. Each step brings improvement. Each improvement builds confidence. Confidence strengthens language even more. The cycle continues. Strong words create strong action. Strong action creates strong results. Strong results reinforce strong belief. Soon, the man who once doubted himself stands differently. He walks with purpose. He speaks with clarity. He acts with responsibility. His words carry weight because they reflect discipline. People sense this immediately. They trust the man whose language shows courage. They respect the man whose language shows accountability. They follow the man whose language shows vision. This is the true power of speaking like a leader. It is not about sounding impressive. It is about building a mindset that refuses weakness.
every sentence becomes a decision to grow, a decision to move forward, a decision to rise above fear. Life will always present challenges. No language can remove every obstacle, but strong language gives you the strength to face those obstacles. It reminds you of your ability to adapt. It reminds you of your ability to learn. It reminds you of your ability to continue. And the man who continues moving forward becomes unstoppable. Step by step, lesson by lesson, challenge by challenge, he builds a life shaped by courage, all because he chose to speak like a leader, not like a weak man.
If this message hit you, then don't just watch and leave. Like this video, share it to someone who needs this wake-up, and subscribe to this channel. Study yourself 1 hour a day. We are building a different breed here, a new generation of doers, people who don't wait for permission, people who build themselves daily, people who compound quietly and become untouchable over time. Hit subscribe, join the movement. 1 hour a day, every day, and in 1 year, your future self will not recognize you anymore. Let's grow. Let's execute. Let's dominate our own potential. Subscribe now and start becoming the person nobody can compete with.